So there's a few topics I realized I didn't cover in the original Message in the Movies episode 2 about the island. And first was memory implants. If you know anybody that was around during the moon landing in 1969, ask them about it because you get some interesting inability to recall the event. Most people could remember JFK that were around that time, but for some reason the moon landing not so much. Other events of history, people have like pre-canned answers that they give for different historical events that they lived through. And it's like, why do I get the same answer from so many people? And again, this goes back to Dark City, where everyone knows about Shell Beach, but they can't tell you where Shell Beach is, but they all swear they've been there. And then cloning, the part where the president was a clone, that could also mean that he was a puppet. So I'm just leaving that in there for those that want to say that all presidents are puppets and they're controlled by somebody and they're all handled. And that's cool, but if you begin and end with the president, then you're missing it. So think of everybody being somebody's puppet. All right, manufactured false realities. I think I did cover that one. Basically, but what's astonishing is how vast the manufacturing of reality is. I mean, it's one thing with TV. It's one thing with magazines. It's one thing with radio. But then when you go deeper and all of these societal rituals that we have to do, I had mentioned weddings, going to school. You think that's sick. I mean, we elect school board members. I mean, it's admitted now that I guess it was Rockefeller that created the education system to create labor, like semi-educated laborers that he could utilize. Not just him, but society could use to employ. If that's the case, then we're all really in a situation like the island. Are we just laborers? Are we? And then we're getting this limited version of reality up to the age of a 15-year-old just so that we could go work the field or work the factory. That's terrible. That's terrible. And in that that's admitted, yet we don't say, wait a minute. So is that still going on today? Now, in the old paradigm, people did need to work. People need to earn a living. But in present day 2016, we're in the future now. Do people really need to work? What are they working for? I think people are working to be occupied, hence the term occupation. And if we're just occupying people's lives, that really sucks. Or if anything, look, can you just let me out of this? You could keep occupying everybody else. I won't go crazy. In fact, I'm making these videos because I'm mad that I'm being occupied. Growing up in the 80s, I saw all the robots. I saw the potential. I was like, these robots in 10 to 20 years are going to be so far advanced that I won't ever need to work. Yet here I am still working. And that's BS. And you don't even see the robots anymore. They're like, oh, make the robots disappear. But then other manufactured realities are, science. We trust science so much, but it's limited. But science like forces you to believe science. But how do we know about outer space? None of us have been there. There's like ET exposure laws. There's the FAA. I think they'll prevent you from going to space if you wanted to. I often wonder if there's a bunch of invisible hovering aircraft, like flying saucers that are just hovering and you can't see them, and they're like all over the place. And that's why the FAA has like air traffic control, so that all the airplanes fly in this same pattern so they don't hit all the invisible. I don't really believe that, but I consider the idea. I think I covered, manufacturing false realities enough. Just question everything about your existence. Look at all the control mechanisms in society. Look how they train us to think a certain way, not to ask questions. And there's things called selective exposure. That means they only show you certain things and they don't show you other things. Status conferral helps advance agendas, blah, blah, blah. Insurance. So I read this book called The Grunch of Giants by R. Buckminster Fuller, and there's a section that explains where insurance came from. And it was that a king should never have to suffer a loss. And this is in the era of boat explorations and Christopher Columbus and Magellan and all that. Some ships go out and they'd sink and the king would suffer a loss, but a king should never suffer a loss. So thus insurance was created. But insurance isn't just, out of thin air. It basically came off the labor of another manner. And so in this film is essentially a movie not just about cloning, but about insurance. And when rich people should suffer a missing part or something, that's why they have these clone insurance policies, so they could take the body parts and harvest from them. So does anybody know how insurance really works? I don't. I mean, I just had Buckminster Fuller explain that, when you file a claim, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. It doesn't just come out of Obama's stash. I guess it comes off some secured labor or from someone else. So when you file your claim, I guess it's not just free money. I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling it comes from somewhere else. So that's the insurance. And then basically there's scenes of this movie that remind me of The Matrix, especially the end where Neo said, "I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see, a world without you." And that's pretty much what Ian McGregor's character wanted to do. He wanted to show what the Institute does, blah, blah, blah. Controlled environments. You lived in a controlled environment, school, when you were a kid, but you currently live in a controlled environment, and that's the societies we live in. They're controlled environments. And I just say that because I really don't like being part of general population. I want to be in the breakaway civilization that utilizes off-world technology. So I'm trying to get there. Harvested for the ultra elite. Kind of talked about that already. But are you a tool? And you are. Your labor goes to someone that owns the company that you work for or owns the government that you work for. So you're pretty much having your labor traded for money. And the money they give you is pretty small, and then they take a lot. They take 4 months of it away in the form of taxes, and then you have all your bills, and in the end, you really end up with nothing. It's pretty lame. And it's lame because it doesn't have to be that way. In that same book, Grunch of Giants, Buckminster Fuller mentions that he had worked on engineering technologies that got created that would give everybody the lifestyle of a billionaire. And that's a billionaire in terms of the 1980s when the book was published, which today would probably be the lifestyle of a trillionaire. And he said but that technology was decided that it won't be released because like less than 1% of the people want to keep that hidden and they don't want to release it. This also goes to the alleged quotes from Ben Rich, where he says, "We have the technology to take ET home, but it would take an act of God to get these technologies released." So you live in an artificial environment, a controlled environment where people unnecessarily starve. You have your entire lives occupied. And then the things you do in your free time, you watch football, you go to weddings, you go to all these events that you probably don't really want to go to. So even in your spare time, you're doing things you probably don't want to do. That's pretty awesome. And then you guys don't use your supposed free speech to have discussions about this. I've had people tell me that they actually like The Matrix. The ignorance is bliss. They enjoy being told what to do and when to do it. They like that. They really like it. That's good for them. It's just not good for me. So let me get in the breakaway civilization and let the people that want the Matrix enjoy the Matrix. So is the sky a holographic illusion? I don't know. I've been seeing these Flat Earth Society videos, and while I don't buy it 100%, it does get you to ask questions about your reality and your environment and look around you and question even the things you held as fact, as absolute fact. One of them was, how every classroom has a globe in it to reinforce the idea of a spherical planet. And the Flat Earth Society usually asks you to question your own model, or they say, well, in your model, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought about it. I was like, wow, our model is pretty strange. For instance, I watched Cosmos, the new version with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And prior to that, I thought I liked Neil deGrasse Tyson. But after I saw that first episode, I was like, man, this is like a religious propaganda film where they're asking me to accept things that are just like not really, to me, it's not proven. And, they have their models and they expect you to believe it. Especially when it comes to space, it's like, come on. I've never seen full motion video of Mars. And you think about it, you're like, man, they landed the Micro Machines there in 1996. Prior to that, in the 70s, they voyaged there. And then they went again in the 2000s. They have photographs, they have 3D photography, but they don't have any full motion video. And I'm like, come on, man. You mean to tell me that the smartest, mathematicians and engineers didn't think to put a video camera on there? And they'll give you things like, well, it's hard to transmit data through space. It's like, well, if you could transmit a photograph, you could transmit a video, because a video is just thousands and thousands of still photos. In like 2005 or 2006, the Japanese space program, JAXA, they did a 3D mapping of the moon and released one frame. So there's a bunch of people, not a bunch, there's a small percentage of people that are in these space programs that have vast information about reality, about space, that's not being shared with the population. It's not that it has to be. They paid for the equipment. Well, probably the people paid for it with taxes. But, it's there. I guess it belongs to them, even though if it's government, it belongs to everybody. And it's being withheld. So much info. Any kind of video of Mars. I've never seen a full motion video of Earth from space far enough away where you could see the entire globe rotating. Anytime I see Earth, it's always of a hemisphere, like really close up, like a super close up of the Earth where I just see a quarter of it. And I'm not satisfied. And, I just want to see unedited all the way into space. But they can't show you because there's like supposedly spy satellites and other secret strategic things placed up there. So I understand that. But the whole secrecy, I mean, I know you got to do it because people want to conquer and control each other. So I'm glad at least I'm on the winning team, or at least I'm told I am. But why is everything in life so secret? Not just military, but when it comes to business, everything's a secret, and everyone is telling lies. They're all marketing, or they're all trying to give bad information to people to lead them in the wrong direction so that they have the right information and they get the competitive advantage. That's pretty lame to lie to people. That's cheating. Beat me fair and square. And we're conditioned with ethics and morals. And then even like sports have referees, and that reinforces the idea of fairness. So all of us play fair, and we play within the rules, and then the others play outside the rules and have an advantage. So, whatever. I mean, that's that. I'm just bitching right now. But I'm just bitching because I'm like, come on, do you guys not see this? Why aren't we talking about it? So yeah, the holographic illusion of the sky. In the island, there was a hologram machine that generated the whole environment, like everything that people saw outside of where they lived. This hologram machine is what they saw. And once the hologram was turned off, they all realized that there was an outside. And so it's breaking that hologram, breaking that illusion. And it's both literal and metaphorical and allegorical, whatever. There's an illusion, there's a hologram of limitations. And the sky could be a hologram. Or just, how about this? Holograms. You don't see holograms that much in society. But they've been working on holograms for like 40 plus years. And I've heard they have holograms that look so real you can't even tell the difference. So what's to say that the majority of the stuff you're seeing isn't a hologram? And what about like when you're going through buildings, there's always do not enter. And all these do not enter signs all over society. And I'm like, well, okay, who gets to enter? Somebody's entering those places. What is in the do not enter areas? There's like a whole do not enter to reality. Do not enter. Do not come behind the scenes, because you'll see how society is controlled. And we covered it in the first video. I realize now, planets uninhabitable. They always say, whenever they talk about space, they always point out that it's not possible to breathe and it's uninhabitable, and it's always reinforced. John Lear said that there's people that live on all the planets, but who knows if the planets are even there, because all I see are photographs. I never seen full motion video. And then on the allegory of the cave, I didn't realize till I watched it later that Lippi, Lippi, was, I guess, the painter of that painting that was on that Wikipedia article. So that's just kind of, my name is spelled Lippe, but it's just kind of, I don't know, synchronistic that the allegory of the cave, which was a big revelation to me also had Lippy in it. Just kind of neat. All right, that's really all I have to say here. This was kind of like a podcast, just an addendum to the island. After I watched the video, I was taking notes on what I forgot to talk about. And apparently it's been 15 minutes worth of information. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Don't forget to check out Message in the Movies, episode 0 and episode 1. The episode 1, the Transformers one, I spent a lot of time on. And it's really good. I spent like 40 hours making it. All right, see you next time.